This is by far, without a doubt, the single hardest shot I've ever had to take in my entire YouTubing career. To stand here in front of you without a shirt and share my story about my insecurities around my weight, my body image, my torso. The torso is really the root of all of my struggles when it comes to this. It's pretty incredible to me, I guess, that I'm here doing this right now. And if you want to see the thing, the whole torso, the advances that I've made, well, you're gonna have to stick around because I'm not gonna let you see it quite yet. But it is true, I ate this pasta dish every day for 5 months and lost 50 pounds. And if you want to know how I did it and the story behind it, why I did it in the first place, and why I'm back on that journey for a little bit longer, you came to the right place.
Growing up, I always felt that I was the fat kid. And that's actually really important, is the idea that I felt I was the fat kid. I was actually a pretty skinny kid. Like when I go back and look at photos of myself as a kid, I do not know what I was thinking, but it followed me for pretty much my entire childhood. I was that kid at the swimming pool in the t-shirt.
If you're anything like me, this is actually a really sensitive subject because like growing up, this is probably my number one insecurity, how I looked, in especially like the torso region. Like my teeth when I was a kid, not this straight or pearly white either. So this is a difficult subject for a lot of people. So hopefully you can track with me on this. For me, the source of my insecurities came from a number of places, whether they were societal, and just kind of looking around and seeing how beautiful the world seemed to be. And I was not quite conforming to that, even from within my family. Like my mom, I have some pretty rough memories, but including things like my mom making me lift my shirt up in front of her friends and then compare my love handles to my dad's love handles. And ha ha ha, isn't that really funny? I was like 8. There's some pretty f***ed up stuff like that that gets in your head and sticks with you and makes it pretty hard to feel comfortable or confident taking your shirt off, you know, literally anywhere. These are the things that lead to limiting beliefs. As a kid, I didn't believe that I could do anything about it. I was really active and I always just had a little bit of pudge and I never seemed able to get rid of it. And then as an adult, that sticks with you. It's very much like, you know, the baby elephant staked to the ground that can't escape, and as an adult, that's all you gotta do is stake it to the ground, and it still thinks it can't escape, but it could if it tried.
Food and I have, you know, a relationship. We all have a relationship with food, but mine is kind of tied up in a combination of things. Early on, I think it's tied up mostly in my sense of self-worth, oddly enough, just because, especially things like eating out, weren't things that we did very much. And that's a whole other conversation we can get into at another point, but that self-worth and lack of it ties into my self-image and how I see myself and how I feel about myself. It affects how you go about eating food as well, because food then becomes this kind of emotional reward that's a bit forbidden, it's a bit taboo, but it's also something that you really love and you really want. And it just gets kind of convoluted and then ties up a lot of really mixed emotions over time.
For a little bit of context, when I first really seriously tried to lose weight and succeeded at it, I was 30 and just literally woke up the day I turned 30 and was like, what am I doing? I have to give this a try.
I'm probably gonna end up having to talk about this whole fat thing sooner or later. It looks like I'm gonna have to try and consume around 16 to 1700 calories only for the next 5 months. That's gonna suck.
I was at about 245 pounds when that started. And over the course of 4 months, lost 40 pounds, got down to 205. And I kept it off for a long time as well, even after moving back to France. You know, but then the pandemic kind of happened. I also burned out. I also went through a pretty bad breakup. Things got a little rough.
Obviously, fitness is a really big part of the whole weight loss journey. It's not the most important part, and we'll definitely talk about that because food is clearly the most important part, but fitness is really important just for life, for the quality of life. I'm very lucky because I'm able-bodied and healthy, and despite the fact that I had a lot of weight to lose, that didn't really stand in the way of me getting back in shape. But getting in shape and losing weight, kind of two different things. For me, it all really goes back to childhood and the insecurities in my head that started and then continued that. The thing is that as a kid, like, I loved playing sports. I guess it's debatable. Some sports I didn't like as much as others, but some sports I really, really enjoyed. And as soon as that turned into like competition instead of fun for me as a kid, like in middle school, which is an awkward time to be alive anyways, and it's a time that a lot of my insecurities about my weight really developed, I started dropping out of sports kind of one after the other as I entered into high school. Golf was the last one that I played competitively. And then I just shut myself away, made videos, like, didn't really do a whole lot of athletics. And I didn't start running really seriously until I was like, what, 26, something like that? By then, I'd already gained a lot of weight. But the thing is, why I like running so much is because all you need is a good pair of shoes. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need anybody to train you really beyond, you want to get your basics, like your form down, but ultimately you can just go out and do it. Anytime that's convenient, anytime that you're traveling, anywhere you go, it follows you and it goes with you. But I started running and consistently and for long distances long before I ever actually lost the weight. And that, I think, is on one of the key elements to this whole thing. But the reason that I started running at about the age of 22 is someone close to me had a heart attack. They were young. I didn't know that was going to happen, and they were in my family as well, so I was like, wow, this could happen to me. And that's what really got me started on the running, was the health side of things, wanting to take care of my heart. The weight loss was something I did not believe I could do. In fact, it was something that was in here for the longest time. People told me, oh, you're just big boned, you're a bigger guy. Gave me a lot of excuses and outs not to do it and ignore the data, ignore the facts. I just didn't believe I could do it. And then, fast forward a few chapters in life, I turned 30, and for whatever reason, I knew I could do it. And so I set out to do it, and I did it. I'm actually enjoying this, pain and everything. It's a challenge, and for whatever reason, I actually believe I can do it now.
For context, this first round of weight loss when I turned 30 was from 245 to 205. The second round of weight loss started last October or September when I was at 225. I'd gone back up a good 20 pounds, and it ended at about 175. That's where the title comes from, losing 50 pounds. But when you think about it, in total, I've actually lost closer to 70 pounds, which is a pretty dramatic drop.
Before we get into this too, weight loss is not easy. And anybody that tells you that it's easy is lying to you or trying to sell you something like that out of the gate. It's not easy for me. I've tried multiple times and failed multiple times along the way. And I think that that's perfectly normal. Anybody that can just jump into it right out of the gate, good for you. Like, I'm happy for you. I know some friends that have really been able to do it a little bit with a little less struggle than I have. But it's definitely been a big challenge for me. So if it is something that's hard for you, I feel like that's perfectly normal. And again, should just be said, it's not easy stuff we're talking about.
Don't worry, the shirt's going to come off at some point. Or maybe you should be, I don't know if you're terrified of that. Maybe that's what you're hoping to avoid, but it's coming.
Also, as we dive into like the how I did it, and we get into calorie counting, I know that can be a triggering thing for some people. So if you don't want to hear anything about calorie counting, which is going to be kind of the whole how I actually did it section, jump to this time code below, and you can skip that part.
This section is actually pretty brief, but I should say that before you jump into any weight loss solution, whatever it's going to be, definitely talk to a medical professional, whether that's your primary caregiver or, a nutritionist, somebody who's going to be able to come in and walk with you through this process. When we're talking about weight loss, generally we're talking about losing fat specifically. Obviously, you could be trying to lose muscle mass, but you're probably not. Most of us are trying to lose fat and gain muscle. I didn't really start lifting weights consistently until my mid-20s, something like that. And ultimately, that's the most important part when it comes to a lot of this is consistency. But the fitness journey, like the weightlifting, there's overlap there, but they're not exactly the same thing. Like the weight loss and the fitness journey, they're two separate journeys. They go well together. We'll get into the fitness stuff a little bit more another time. The muscle gain requires eating more calories. The fat loss requires eating fewer calories, which is why doing both at the same time is really hard to do and something that I have decided not to do. I tend to focus on the fat loss first and then the muscle gain second. There are a lot of people that would say gain muscle first, which is what I did the first time around. I worked on my fitness when I turned 30. Made sure to get in the gym, get in the habit of running regularly, getting into the gym regularly, and put on a few pounds of muscle, which then helps to boost your metabolism, and it's a really good way to go about it. However, that's not going to lead to the weight loss. Like I said earlier, I ran a lot as an adult, got into the gym a fair amount, and the fat did not come off. Physical exercise only makes up for so much of what you eat. In reality, it all comes down to monitoring what you're eating, doing so safely, and slowly, surely, over time, letting that fat melt right off. Which is what also makes this really, really hard, because the fat does not just fall off of you. Calorie counting is a really simple thing. Ultimately, your body burns a set number of calories depending on your size, age, gender, also how active you are during the day. There's a number of factors, which is why you should talk to a medical professional. You get your baseline, basically, about what you probably are burning every day. Weight gain happens when you have a surplus of calories at the end of the day. So let's say you're supposed to eat 2,000 calories, you consume 3,000 calories. If you continue to do that over time, your body's going to start storing that energy, and it's going to be stored as fat. If you have a calorie deficit in a healthy way, slowly over time, your body's going to start using those fat stores for energy. So for me, I use an app to follow what I'm eating and drinking. I have usually used MyFitnessPal, which is what I'm using again now, but for this last round of weight loss, I used Noom, which was nice because Noom actually does an education component that tries to help re-educate you as far as your relationship with food goes and illuminate some things that are fairly helpful when it comes to the weight loss journey. So I did appreciate that. It is a paid app, so if that's a barrier, then MyFitnessPal is free. You can track what you're eating. The library on MyFitnessPal for the food that you're eating is also really, really good, and often is as simple as just scanning a barcode, and then you know exactly what you're eating. Ultimately, you can set your goal in any of these apps to say you want to lose like half a pound a week, all the way up to 2 pounds a week. 2 pounds a week is what I've done. It is the safe yet upper limit for how fast you can and should lose weight. I tend to want to just get this stuff over with, so I dive in. I'm kind of an extreme personality sometimes. I don't know if you've noticed that about me, but at that point, you're basically cutting 1,000 calories out of your diet every day. And that is not easy. When you're getting started, it's pretty difficult. It gets easier over time as you get used to it, but it's a challenge. It's an ongoing challenge, especially when it comes to being social, going out to eat, especially when your job happens to involve a lot of eating in restaurants. It can be pretty tricky. That's the calorie counting side of things. Is really like, hey, I'm gonna tally how much food I'm eating, how many calories are in whatever it is that I'm eating, and try to keep it underneath a certain limit that keeps me in a deficit so that I end up burning fat as I go. You can exercise, and that can build that deficit a little bit more. But one of the most important things to remember with that, if you've ever run into problems where you don't really see the results you expect, is because you're only supposed to eat about half at most of the calories that you burn in exercise. You're not earning a full amount of calories that you can eat later, and that's frustrating and mind-blowing. But one of those things that really helped me a lot was to only ever eat at most half the calories that I burned in exercise. And that's also a note against MyFitnessPal in particular. For whatever reason, the way they do their math now, they give you full credit on your exercise. They didn't used to do that, and now they do. I don't know why. Noom is better about that. They cut your calories in half on that front when it comes to exercise. If you find yourself obsessing over it, if it becomes an unhealthy thing, like walk away. It's not worth it. There are other ways that you can lose weight. This is just how I lost weight. I think it's great. It's worked for me very well. And there's a whole re-education process I'm going to be going through here as well. I actually discovered this dish during the pandemic. It's 84 grams now of white pasta. Same like spirally pasta every time. And then like half of a jar of this aubergine-based sauce. It's really, really good. I enjoy it. It's very simple and it's consistent. And I think ultimately, kind of as a theme through this whole video, consistency is kind of the key for getting the results that I wanted. We'll get to the results here soon, don't you worry. But first I need to thank Bob Camp, today's patron producer, and all my patrons who supported me through this, because when I was burned out and not filming and got my driver's license and started losing weight, I wasn't making any videos, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to take that break or have the space to focus in on losing a whole bunch of weight. So thank you so much, patrons. This round of weight loss wouldn't have been possible without you. The nice thing is that if you take it slowly, you don't dive in, you don't give yourself too hard of a time. If you can be gentle with yourself and ease into it, I jumped straight in and it was very hard, but however you end up doing it, you'll see that your diet doesn't have to immediately change overnight. You start by reducing your portions, or maybe saying no to a beer, or no to a cookie, no to whatever as you go, and your diet just starts to naturally change. Here's some tips if you're gonna calorie count or not that I think are generally really helpful for weight loss. People ask me this all the time. Some of it's very obvious. You wanna drink a lot of water, you wanna get a lot of sleep. And same with working out. If you're gonna try and build muscle, you need to make sure you're getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night. And we can talk about the fitness side, like what I've been doing to work out, again another time here soon, but we'll get into that in another video. Other things you can do are just cut out some basics, like alcohol. Generally alcoholic drinks have so much more sugar than you would expect, and it's really easy to just kind of keep drinking, especially if you live in Europe. We drink a lot. Cutting that out as best you can is very, very helpful, or minimizing it. If you drink beer, drink a lager instead of an IPA. Wine is a fairly good option, but wine still has a lot more sugar in it than you think it's going to. So something like, vodka soda, this is a good way to go. Also planning, like in advance, making decisions about what you're going to eat earlier in the day. I find that when I sit down and I put the food into my app in advance to say like, oh, well, this is what I think I'm gonna have for lunch, this is what I think I'm gonna have for dinner, and plan that out in advance, it helps me to have a really good idea that, okay, I'm gonna make it through the day and I'm gonna get to enjoy some things as I go that I'm really looking forward to. I can still make changes as I go, but making decisions in the moment when you sit down at a restaurant or when you're staring at your fridge, that's when it's really hard to even think in terms of like, okay, I need to be paying attention to what it is that I'm eating. Making those decisions in advance makes such a huge difference in succeeding. But I think it's really important to remember that there's no morality to this.
Combine that with something like, the sense that certain foods are good, certain foods are bad, that there are unhealthy and healthy foods, when really the reality is all things in moderation, right? Complicating this relationship and making it less about fuel or pleasure and more about like your own sense of self-worth and how you see yourself definitely makes it a lot harder to navigate having a healthy relationship with food and having a healthy view and relationship with yourself.
Who you are is who you are. If you're a larger, smaller, whatever shape, size you come in, it doesn't make you a good or bad person. It doesn't make you better or worse. And like for me, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. And that's why I'm really into this time especially. It's not a moral issue. Although I struggled with that early on when I was a kid and when I was a younger adult, I definitely felt like a worse person for not taking better care of myself, not eating better foods. But as I've let that go, it has become more about my health, how I feel, what I enjoy, and celebrating the ability that I have to move. There are a lot of miserable skinny people in the world, and there are a lot of really happy fat people in the world. So if you're thinking about losing weight because you think it'll make you happy, I would definitely reevaluate that. As somebody who lost a bunch of weight and then went through some of the darkest and most miserable times of my life in the midst and shortly after that, whatever's going to make you happy is already in here, and it's something that you figure out on your own. Whatever's going on out here is something that you can do for yourself as a gift to yourself. At least that's how I'm approaching it. Speaking of that, you've been waiting this whole time to see some results, so let's see the progress photos and video, whatever I got. It's time to see mostly Naked Jay. You can see like how things progressed as I started. I've got footage I filmed. I didn't start filming right away because I was really burned out when I started doing this and I didn't want to touch a camera. I weighed in at 192 this morning, 192.4, which is amazing. I'm down around 30 pounds lighter than I was when we started this whole thing, so that's really cool. So I didn't have some of the earlier shots. I think I took maybe a couple photos, but I didn't really have a lot of the earliest photos, but you can see the progress that I've made up till today. It's pretty cool to see how far things have come.
I'm also down to the last belt loop here. You can see that like the wear is more intense here, a little less intense there, and then nothing there. But that is where we are now.
I'm still a little bit insecure about the love handles, like the flat tire region around my stomach.
All right, I'm down to 178 now, which is good. Down 3 pounds from starting back up. And this is, I wanted to get this like a profile. If I could just get rid of this. I don't know what it'll look like. I have no idea what that would look like. I have no idea. What's it, what? This is the lightest I've been since I was probably like 15 years old or something like that.
I kind of fell off the horse here. When I went to the States, I took a break, and then over the summer, I just didn't worry about it, and I didn't really retrain myself in the way that I intended to. So it's a little bit nuts to see how much progress I really did lose over the summer, and I'm working towards that again now. And I'm feeling doubly motivated for having looked at all this footage and seeing how close I came. I'm seeing it through this time. I'm getting close, It's just... I want to get rid of this. And that's what I'm working on now. But as I said before, it's ultimately because I want to, for me. I've never had a flat stomach. The weight loss side is to reveal what's going on underneath and, I don't know, just kind of feel good about myself in a way that's just for me. I want to have a chest that not only women like touching, but that I like to kind of touch a little bit. And I want to look and feel good in some stylish clothes. And it's possible to do that at a larger size. And I don't have to do any of this anymore. But the fact that I don't feel like I have to do it anymore is all the more motivation for me to do it. It's for me ultimately. And that's the way I think maybe it should be. Also, it's better for my knees. If I'm carrying less weight when I'm running, it'll just be better for my joints in the long run. So practically speaking, it's just not a bad idea. It's an ongoing journey, so I'll keep you up to date as I'm going. Hopefully by the end of 2022, I'll be at roughly my weight goal, but it's been a transformation. It will have taken me over a year to get to that point, and it will continue after that because I'm going to continue to build a little bit of muscle and then just maintain that from there. And it's something that I'm happy to talk about in the future, but I also just wanted to let you know how I got here and why I'm here and, put a little skin in the game because I've been really scared to talk about this in the past for so many reasons. and there's no need to be scared. So I hope you enjoyed it.